Okay, so I got a call the other day. There's a doctor here in town who went to the University of Florida Medical School and then did his training and residency in pathology at the University of North Carolina, which is what I did. I did my undergraduate in medical school at the University of Florida in Gainesville, and then I did my training and as a resident, and then I spent 2 years at the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute in Washington. And then I finished my training and was hired as a new attending at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. And I spent a total of 20 years there from 1978 to 1998. I was an assistant, associate, and full professor. I was associate chief of staff for a period of time. In 1998, I quit my job because of my opinion that the mini-gastric bypass was so valuable that I would do nothing else but that and try and convince other people to do it. And we're now over 10 years and 4,500 people later. The story is kind of interesting. When I was hired, I was initially hired as kind of the computer specialist. When I started, all of our offices used typewriters. And so I spent a lot of the time convincing secretaries and my colleagues that we could use this new wild thing called an IBM PC, and had big battles and things like that, but I brought computers all through the department. I was a specialist in trauma and critical care. And also when I was hired, my boss said that they needed help doing weight loss surgery. I did the old open gastric bypass and stomach stapling. And when I was initially hired, I said, well, I don't want to do that. You know, because I said, well, everybody knows that heavy people just need to eat less and exercise more. Well, my boss said, well, do you want the job? I said, well, when you put it that way, sir, I'd love to help out doing weight loss surgery. So for several years, that's what I did as a new attending. And in 1988, a revolution began in American surgery with the beginning of laparoscopic gallbladder surgery. And I was an early adopter at our hospital of doing the laparoscopic laser gallbladder surgery. And so we did a lot of that. And over the coming 10 years, I started doing more and more laparoscopic surgery, so that in September of 1997, I was doing laparoscopic Roux-en-Y gastric bypass. One of the first surgeons in the country to do that. And I didn't think much of it, and on a Wednesday night, I was on call for trauma when a drug dealer in downtown Durham had a disagreement with one of his customers. So he got shot in the belly 6 times with a .357 Magnum. And about 9 o'clock that night, we got him up to the hospital operating room, and I cut out some intestine. I cut out the tail of his pancreas and the spleen and the bottom of his stomach. And I had to hook them back together, so I hooked the bottom of the stomach to the side of the intestine. And if you know what a mini-gastric bypass is, that should sound familiar. So we finished him up, got him into the ICU about 3 in the morning. And the next day I had a patient who was a nurse who worked in the operating room and a friend of mine. And I told her, I said, you know, I don't understand why I'm doing these wacky Roux-en-Ys. I think I should be doing a Billroth II connection like I just did for my trauma patient. And she says, oh yeah, I used to help do those all the time for ulcer disease. It was a real common surgery before they invented Tagamet. So she said yes. We did that surgery in September of 1997. And as I said, it's now 10 years later and 4,500 patients since that first case.
How's she doing?
She's doing great.
And why would you leave North Carolina?
I love North Carolina, but I came out here with Trish to start a new program, and we were training Dr. Paragli, who's then got married and moved to Houston and then to Florida. So I've actually fallen in love with the desert out here around Las Vegas. But I do love North Carolina. So that's the story of the mini-gastric bypass.